Hi guys, so today's video presentation will be on the Manhoff Archives. These archives are a collection of videos and photographs shot from the U.S. Embassy and other places in Russia, depicting everyday Soviet life from an American perspective. You see lots of photos of just everyday Russian activities, from walking around the markets to, just driving cars, all sorts of normal civilian things, as well as these large more spectacular events like this parade you see here in the background, and other world-changing events like Joseph Stalin's funeral procession. So the man behind the camera's name is Martin Manhoff. He was a World War II soldier. He fought in the Normandy campaign, so he fought in France against the Germans. Prior to the war, he had a bachelor degree in fine arts from the University of Washington. And so after the war, he was an assistant army attaché at the U.S. Embassy for 2 years in Russia. However, he was forced to leave in 1954 after the Soviet state accused him of espionage. Almost all of his pictures and videos come from a 16mm film camera. You can see hundreds of these videos and pictures on the website, the Manhoff Archives. These slides and videos were originally found by a Seattle-based, Washington-based historian named Douglas Smith. He found and released the collections of the film. One of the world-changing events that Manhoff caught on his camera was Stalin's funeral procession. So on March 5th, 1953, Stalin was announced dead by the Soviet media outlets. This is just a picture from the video. However, the video can be found on the Manhoff Archive website. So if you're interested in that, please go take a look at that. I highly recommend it. The video is shot from the roof of the U.S. Embassy. So you can see all of the Russian Kremlovsky Guard lining the streets. And a very interesting, couple interesting facts about this video is that it's the only independent footage not produced by Russian state media of the actual event. And it actually shows a lot of human aspects of the, once thought to be invincible Russian soldiers. You can see in the video lots of them jumping up and down, kind of, holding their arms in their pockets because it's really cold. So it kind of brings a human aspect to these once thought like non-human soldiers. And the U.S. intelligence agencies actually get a hold of this video to try and depict who might be following in Stalin's footsteps as the leader of Russia, to see, which prominent Communist Party figures are in what part of the procession. That's kind of interesting as well. A lot of sections of his photographs happen to do with just everyday life in Russia. Smith says that it gives a human quality that is missing in a lot of other depictions of the Soviet state. You can see just a lot of people in the bottom photograph here just walking around Red Square. You see a couple here. You see, just a couple kids here, just kind of walking around normally as most Americans would do on a normal day. And his wife, Jane Manhoff, also gave a description of the USSR, specifically Moscow, that it's unlike any city we've ever seen. It's not either, Western or Eastern or European. It's kind of got its own unique style. After his recording of Stalin's funeral procession, he went on a road trip, a 2-week trip all across Soviet Russia. He went after the USSR opens a lot of formerly restricted areas to outsiders. So a lot of the countries, you weren't allowed to travel there if you were American or British or French. You kind of had to stay in these set areas. So he travels all across Russia, ending in Khabarovsk. It's a city right on the Chinese border. So he goes from Moscow all the way across the country. However, on March 26, 1954, he was accused of espionage, and June 1st, the Manhoffs leave the USSR for good. They never go back. One thing I thought was interesting about this picture in the background here is when I first looked at it, I didn't even realize it was Russia. I mean, it doesn't really look like it from a lot of pictures that I've seen. It looks like it's right on the, western frontier, right in America. So it was just, I was really shocked by the contrast between what looks like a really, typical American frontier western style home to, a house in the middle of Soviet Russia. So I thought that was kind of cool. A lot of speculation comes when you talk about Martin Manhoff to certain people. A lot of people think that he was a spy for the CIA, and no doubt that U.S. intelligence agency used his photos and videos for whatever purpose they saw fit. However, there's no direct evidence of him specifically engaging in espionage. However, a lot of his films, canisters when they were found, were marked confidential, top secret, or property of the USAAF. So it seems like a lot of them were classified top secret whenever they came out of Russia. And eventually he did try to work for the CIA later in life. So there's a lot of hearsay about what he was actually doing at the embassy. However, from the films released to the public, there is no military, diplomatic, or intelligence meetings captured on any of the films or pictures that were released. And as all good stories, start, they also have an end. The Manhoffs eventually had no children, so no heirs to any of the films or photos captured. They lived the rest of their lives in Kirkland, Washington. Martin died in 2005, and his wife Jan in 2014. And the films were left in a auto body shop next door that was owned by Jan's father before they left for Russia. So they kind of just sat there collecting dust. Smith said that he found them, and they literally had just been sat down and not touched for 60 years. So they pulled those out and got to share them with the rest of the world to give a more human aspect showing of what was seemed like a very inhumane USSR. So that's it. Thanks for listening to my video, and I will see you guys later.